Before we start, tell me in the comments, what city are you listening to this story from today? And make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next thrilling stories. Because today's story will truly touch your heart. Hours before the wedding, Helena received an audio message. A single audio message. And everything in her life simply fell apart. What she discovered would forever change the way she saw love, forgiveness, and herself. But the question no one could answer was, why did her fiancé disappear, precisely on Christmas Eve? Helena Duarte, 27, was known in the small town of Santa Clara for her gentle smile and quiet strength. A teacher at a rural school, she lived in the simple house where she grew up, alongside her mother, Dona Amalia. Helena never had luxury, but she always had what she valued most: love, honesty, and peace. Rafael Montes, 33, came from a family with a strong name and old money. A law graduate, he worked as a consultant for large companies in the capital. He was a reserved man, always elegant, and carried in his eyes a mix of mystery and weariness, like someone burdened by too many secrets. Between them was an improbable love. From different worlds, different classes, different rhythms. But, still, deeply connected. And there was also the third piece of this silent triangle, Livia, Raphael's younger sister. Sensitive, fragile, with delicate health, she was the only one who knew part of the shadow he struggled to hide. It was Christmas Eve. The church was already decorated with golden lights, white flowers, and red bows, just as Helena had always dreamed. Guests were getting organized, children carried petals, and the entire town was buzzing about the most anticipated wedding of the year. Helena was adjusting her dress in the mirror when her phone vibrated. An audio message. From Raphael. But it wasn't a "I'm on my way." Nor "I'm nervous." Not even an "I love you." His voice sounded shaky. Fragile. Almost desperate. "Helena, forgive me. I can't show up today. Don't look for me. Don't ask anyone anything. Just move on with your life. Please." And then, silence. Nothing else. The phone slipped from her hand. Her heart pounded, a dry thud. And the entire love story she had built over 2 years suddenly seemed to have been written in sand. The town was talking. Guests whispered. Her mother cried. And Raphael had simply vanished. No justification. No explanation. No trace. But there was something in his tone of voice, something that wasn't abandonment. It seemed more like fear. And, inside the same house where loving was so simple, Helena felt, for the first time, that she had fallen into a labyrinth she didn't know. The first night was the worst. Helena didn't sleep. The dress hanging still smelled of new perfume. The dinner table, set for family and godparents, remained untouched, cold, abandoned, like a theater set. The next morning, Raphael's disappearance was already on the regional radio stations. A local elite man vanished on the eve of his own wedding. Some hinted at an escape. Others spoke of betrayal. And some even speculated about involvement in dangerous business dealings. Helena tried to ignore the gossip, but every word pierced her like a needle. Until Livia, his sister, appeared at her doorstep, pale, crying. "Helena, you need to come with me." On the way to the family farm, the young woman trembled. With each curve of the dirt road, she seemed to grow more distressed. "Raphael didn't run away from you," Livia said, wringing her hands. He's trying to protect you." Helena frowned, feeling her stomach churn. Protect, from what? His sister hesitated. Looked out the window. Took a deep breath. From something he's been guarding since before he met you. From that point on, everything started to tighten. The rain fell heavily, as if the sky was also about to collapse. When they arrived at the farm, the atmosphere was already overflowing with tension. Employees walking quickly, stern expressions, locked doors. And then, Dona Beatriz Montes, Rafael's mother, approached. "Helena, my dear, you'd better go back home. My son is not in a state to see you. Not today, not anytime soon." The air grew heavy. Helena felt the ground disappear beneath her. But she didn't accept it. "I need to talk to him. Rafael is my fiancé. I have the right to know what's happening." His mother narrowed her eyes, cold as metal. "That's exactly why you can't come in. Because the less you know, the safer you'll be." And the gate of the big house closed before her. Slowly. Cruelly. As if it were the end of a chapter, but, in truth, it was just the beginning. Helena remained before the closed gate for long seconds. Rain streamed down her face, and she no longer knew if it was water or tears. The Montes family, so elegant, so influential, so unattainable, now became a wall between her and the love of her life. But one thing Helena had learned since childhood: when her heart believed in something, she didn't give up easily. And even with the pain burning in her chest, she turned and walked back to the road, determined. However, she couldn't even take 10 steps. A faint voice, practically a whisper, echoed from the side of the big house, "Helena." She turned immediately. The sound came from a high, half-open window. And there, in the gloom, Rafael. Pale. Tired eyes. Unshaven. Completely different from the confident man she knew. Helena brought her hand to her mouth, emotional. "Rafael, what's happening? Why did you disappear like this?" He looked around nervously. "You shouldn't be here. Please, go home. I don't want anything to happen to you." "Happen, to me?" She approached the wall, trying to see him better. "What are you talking about?" Rafael hesitated. He swallowed air. And then, with a broken voice, he murmured, "I should never have allowed our love to go this far." Helena felt her chest tighten. The cold wind seemed to pierce her skin. A heavy silence formed, the kind of silence that precedes a revelation capable of changing destinies. But before he could say anything else, a man appeared behind him. Tall, in a dark suit, with a rigid gaze. "I already told you to stay away from the window, Rafael." Helena's eyes widened. Who is he? Why is he inside the house as if he were a guard? The man partially closed the curtain, but not before casting a direct glance at her. A look that clearly said, "You are not welcome here." And then, the window closed completely. Quickly. Coldly. Definitely. Helena stood there, motionless, her heart racing. Something was wrong. Very wrong. And she was going to find out what, no matter the cost. That night, Helena could no longer ignore the instinct screaming inside her. If the Montes family wasn't going to tell the truth, if Rafael was trapped inside his own house, emotionally or physically, then she would find the answers herself. And so, the next morning, she sought help from someone she never imagined asking, Enrique, Rafael's best friend since college. A simple man, an IT technician, who had known them both for years. When Helena told him about the audio, the window, the unknown man, and the family's intervention, Enrique was silent for a few seconds. "This confirms my suspicions," he finally said. "The Montes family doesn't want anyone to know what happened to Rafael 6 years ago." Helena frowned. 6 years? But, that was before I met him. Exactly. And that's why he always thought he could spare you. Her heart pounded. Enrique, for God's sake, what happened? Enrique took a deep breath. Rafael was engaged once. Before you. And the fiancé died on Christmas Eve. Helena brought her hand to her chest. My God, but that's the problem, he continued, looking at her intently. The death was never clarified. The case was hushed up. No investigation, no headlines, nothing. Everything covered up by the family. And Raphael carried the guilt alone, even though he was never officially accused. Helena felt a wave of cold run through her body. Are you saying Raphael thinks he might hurt me too? Enrique shook his head. No. He thinks someone is trying to hurt him. And, consequently, anyone who is by his side. Helena took a few seconds to process. When she finally managed to speak, her voice was low, but firm. So that's what he's afraid of. That history will repeat itself. That I'll be the next target. Enrique nodded. Yes. And if the family is locking him inside the house, it means something new has happened. Helena, with teary eyes, murmured, and I'm going to find out what. That same night, Helena made a decision. She knew their love was improbable, difficult, full of social and family barriers. She knew the Montes family had never fully accepted her, for not having the same money, the same status, the same last name. But she also knew something else. Raphael had always truly loved her. And people like that don't disappear without a reason. She walked to the farm gate. The moon illuminated the stone path. The cold wind blew against her simple dress. And her heart seemed to beat loud enough to be heard from inside. There, before the immense gate, Helena whispered, Raphael. I won't abandon you. Not now. Not ever. The sparkle in her eyes was that of someone who had just started a war against an invisible enemy. Dawn arrived silently. Almost all the lights at the Montes farm were out, except for a side window, the same one Raphael had appeared in hours earlier. Helena watched from afar, hidden behind the trunk of an old tree. Her heart pounded erratically. It was dangerous to be there. The Montes family was never violent, but their power spoke louder than any police in the region. They hid what they wanted. They protected whom they wanted. And they destroyed reputations with the same ease with which they served expensive wine at their parties. Even so, Helena took a deep breath and walked towards the side shed, where Enrique had said there was an entrance used by employees during the early hours. The door was ajar. She pushed it slowly. The creak was small, but it echoed as if the whole world could hear it. Inside, the air smelled of damp wood and old hay. Helena took a few steps, trying not to make a sound. And then she saw Raphael, sitting on the floor, leaning against a wooden pillar, his face hidden in his hands. No suit. No powerful man's posture. No mask at all. Just, broken. Helena brought her hand to her mouth to stifle a sob. But the sound of her foot hitting a dry branch was enough for him to lift his head. His eyes met hers, and in that instant, everything stopped. Helena? She ran to him. I'm here, she murmured, kneeling beside him. I'm here, Raphael. Talk to me. Please. He held her hands tightly, as if afraid she would disappear. You shouldn't have come. I can't drag you into this. You already dragged me into it when you disappeared, she said, her voice choked. And I'm not leaving until I know the truth. Raphael closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. It was clear he was fighting something. Something big. Something heavy. Helena, he murmured, they gave me a warning. She frowned. Who? Your family? He quickly denied it. No. People I thought were far from my past. His voice faltered, I received yesterday, before the wedding, a message. It was a photograph. Helena held her breath. A photograph, of what? Raphael swallowed hard. Of my old fiancé. Dead. On the floor. Exactly as they found her 6 years ago. And behind her, on the wall, someone wrote in red paint, "You didn't learn the first time." The silence fell heavy as lead. Helena felt a shiver run down her spine. Oh my God, I thought this was over. I thought the case was an accident. I thought, he trembled, but now I know. It was never an accident. It was never fate. Someone did that. And now, they're coming back. Helena held his face in her hands. Raphael, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you let me stay by your side? Because this time they're not messing with me. It's with you. The photo arrived on my phone. And on the back, was your name. Helena loosened her grip. A chill spread through her entire body. My name, yes. His eyes filled with tears. Helena, I'd rather die 1,000 times than put you in danger. I ran from the wedding because I thought, if I disappeared, they would leave you alone. She shook her head, tears streaming down. Raphael, running away never saved anyone. And you've been trapped in this fear for 6 years. He lowered his gaze. I'm a broken man, Helena. And you didn't deserve this. She held his hand firmly. What I don't deserve is to be left behind. And I won't be. We'll face this together. But at that instant, before Raphael could answer, the sound of footsteps echoed from outside the shed. Heavy. Firm. Authoritative. Raphael pushed Helena behind a stack of boxes. Don't make a sound, he whispered, it's one of my mother's security guards. The shed door opened. A tall man, the same one who had closed the window hours earlier, entered with a flashlight in his hand. Raphael? He called, in a loud, serious voice. Mrs. Beatrice wants to talk to you. Now. Raphael took a deep breath. He glanced discreetly at Helena, hidden. And murmured, don't leave here. I'll come back to get you out, I promise. He stood up, walked to the door. The guard led him out. As soon as the door closed, Helena stood there, breathing fast, feeling her heart pound against her ribs. She knew she only had a few minutes. She needed to investigate. She needed to understand. And then, looking around, something caught her attention, a locked box with a padlock. With the label, Archive, 2019. The year of his old fiancé's death. Her hands trembled. But she approached. Because she knew that inside was the truth Raphael never dared to face. And perhaps the truth the Montez family never wanted to come to light. Helena looked for something to break the padlock. She found an iron bar lying behind a crate. She lifted the tool, held it firmly. And struck. The first blow echoed loudly. The second, even louder. On the third, the padlock broke. Her heart felt like it was going to burst out of her mouth. She opened the lid of the box. And inside, carefully preserved, were unpublished newspaper clippings, photos of Raphael's old fiancée, medical reports, torn letters, an incomplete police report, and a red envelope, still sealed, with the initials RM. Helena brought her hand to her mouth. It was all real. And it was much bigger than she imagined. She opened the envelope. Took out the letter. And when she started to read, her legs gave way. Because the letter said, if you're reading this, it's because they found out. And I can't protect you. Her death wasn't an accident. It was a warning. A warning to me. And now, you're the one at risk. The signature at the end. It was from the old fiancé. Written on the day of her death. Helena reread the letter 3 times. With each new reading, the words seemed to weigh even more heavily. A suffocating sensation took over her chest. Raphael's old fiancé. Somehow, she knew she was going to die. And yet she left that warning, as if predicting that, one day, another woman would be at risk simply for loving him. Helena's hands trembled as she returned the letter to the envelope. But then something caught her attention. At the bottom of the box, fastened with a rusty clip, there was a medical report, different from the others. With scribbles, corrections, and a name circled in red, Dr. Vicente Alencar, Psychiatry. Helena frowned. She had heard that name before. But from where? Suddenly, footsteps. Quick. Precise. They weren't heavy security footsteps. They were light, almost silent, like someone accustomed to moving in enclosed spaces. Helena quickly put everything away, but before she could close the box, the side door was brutally opened. "What do you think you're doing?" a firm voice said. Helena froze. At the entrance of the shed, Beatriz Montes, Raphael's mother. Tall, elegant, imposing like a queen in her own territory. Her gaze seemed to cut through the air. And when it fixed on the open box at Helena's feet, something changed, an almost imperceptible tension crossed Beatriz's face. "Go home, Helena." Her voice was low, but charged with power. "Don't meddle in affairs that don't concern you." Helena stood up, the envelope still hidden behind her. "Raphael belongs to me," she said, with unexpected firmness. "And if something is happening to him, then that's my business too." Beatriz took a step forward, her eyes narrowed. "You don't understand what you're doing. You have no idea of the forces you're stirring up." Helena lifted her chin. "Then explain it to me." Raphael's mother was silent for a few seconds. It was clear she was internally struggling between maintaining control or exploding. "That girl," she finally said, "my son's old fiancé, wasn't who she seemed to be. And Raphael got sick because of her." Helena narrowed her eyes. "Sick?" "Yes." Beatriz crossed her arms. "She manipulated him. He had crises. Hallucinations. Dangerous episodes. And to prevent the press from destroying our family, we brought in a doctor. A trusted psychiatrist." Helena took 2 steps back. "Dr. Vicente Alencar." And then everything clicked. That name. She remembered. He was the family doctor who always appeared whenever a scandal tried to emerge behind the scenes of the region's elite. A discreet man. Influential. With terrifying connections. Beatriz continued, "After her death, Raphael collapsed. We had to isolate him for months. And when he finally recovered, we thought everything was over. But then, you appeared." Helena frowned. "What does that mean?" Beatriz approached, staring at her closely. "It means the pattern repeated itself. The same obsession. The same symptoms. The same anonymous messages. And now, the same threats." Helena felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. "Do you think Raphael is sick?" Beatriz didn't blink. "I think Raphael is being manipulated again. By someone much more dangerous than his old fiancé. And who wants to destroy all of us." Helena brought her hand to her chest. "But why? Who would do this?" Beatriz opened her mouth to answer, but the sound of a muffled explosion echoed from outside, startling both of them. The shed lights flickered. Raphael shouted from outside, "Mom! Helena! Get out of there!" Helena ran to the door, but Beatriz pulled her back. "No," she said. You can't get involved in this. I'm already involved. Helena shouted, pulling her arm from her mother-in-law's hand. She opened the door. And then she saw flames slowly engulfing one of the cars parked behind the shed. And above the hood, painted in red paint, was a message, "She's next." Helena brought her hand to her mouth, horrified. Raphael ran to her, desperate. "Helena! Are you okay?" "My God, I thought," she turned to him, tears streaming. "Raphael, this isn't your fault." He hugged her tightly, trembling. "I should have protected you. I should have left your life." "No," she whispered, "what you should, is trust me." Raphael's gaze met hers. Deep. Painful. Torn. It was at that instant that their romance reached its emotional peak. It was no longer just love. It was destiny. It was risk. It was survival. But before they could say a word, Enrique came running from the road. "Helena! Raphael! I found out who's behind this." They turned to him. And the whole world seemed to hold its breath. Enrique, panting, raised his phone and showed the screen. "I traced the origin of the messages. And it wasn't someone from the past. It wasn't an old enemy. It wasn't buried hatred." "Then who was it?" Helena asked, desperate. Enrique took a deep breath. And with a heavy voice, as if carrying the weight of truth on his shoulders, he said, "The person doing this is inside this house. And never wanted Raphael to get married. Not the first time. Not now." Silence fell over the viewpoint like a heavy veil. Raphael turned pale. Helena felt her heart freeze. "What do you mean? The first time?" she asked, her voice choked. Enrique approached slowly, still panting from the run. I didn't know if I should tell. But when I got the tracking results, I realized it was no longer a matter of protecting feelings. It was about protecting both of you." Raphael frowned, confused and fearful. "Enrique, just tell me." Enrique held his phone tightly, as if that was the only thing keeping him steady. "The one behind the messages, the fake audios, the confusion," he said, looking Raphael in the eyes, "is someone you know very well." Helena moved closer to Raphael, instinctively. "Who?" she pleaded. Enrique took a deep breath. "Dona Beatriz." The name dropped like thunder. Raphael took a step back. "My mother?" Helena brought her hand to her chest. Enrique's voice was heavy, "Yes. She never accepted your first engagement. She thought that girl was too inferior for the family. And she interfered. Manipulated. Invented stories. And when you finally fell in love with Helena, she tried to do it again." Raphael put his hands to his head. "No, it can't be. My mother wouldn't do that. Not like this." Enrique opened a file on his phone. "This here is the proof. The account from which the messages were sent is registered in her name. And there's more." He showed the screen. Helena gasped. "That photo they sent you, Raphael, that horrible montage, saying you were cheating. She was the one who posted it." Raphael gasped. It was as if the ground had disappeared. The man who had always tried to be honest, fair, correct, now discovered that his own mother was the root of the pain that had haunted him for years. Helena touched his arm, with tenderness and firmness. "Raphael, look at me," she asked, her voice trembling, yet firm. "I'm here. None of this changes how I feel about you. But he was too shaken. How could she? He murmured, a lump in his throat. Why? Enrique answered, lowering his head, because she's afraid of losing you. And because she confuses love with control. The wind blew strong at the viewpoint. The city lights below sparkled as if observing the human drama unfolding there. Raphael, broken, said in a low voice, I need to talk to her. Helena held his hand. Not now. Not like this. You're hurt. You're confused. And if you go like this, it will only get worse. Enrique looked up. And there's one more thing. Helena felt her heart clench. What? Enrique hesitated, before revealing the last piece of the puzzle. Your mother, Raphael, didn't act alone. Raphael looked at him, surprised and desperate. What do you mean not alone? Who else was involved? Enrique squeezed his eyes shut, as if saying the bitterest word in the world. Your brother. Eduardo. Raphael staggered a step back, as if he had been hit. Eduardo. No. No. This is too much. Why? He cried, his voice choked. Enrique continued, he had a motive. A personal motive. He always thought you received more attention, more love, more everything. And that Helena would be the perfect woman for him if you weren't in the way. Helena was speechless. Me? She whispered, shocked. He barely talks to me. Enrique nodded. He never had the courage to declare himself. So he chose the worst possible path, to try to destroy your love, to see if there was room for him. That night, which was already broken, shattered even more. Raphael, devastated, whispered, Eduardo was always distant, but, this? This is monstrous. Helena approached him, placing both hands on his face so he would look at her. Raphael, listen. You are not responsible for your family's choices. You are not guilty of what they did. What matters is who you are. And who we are, together. Raphael held her hands, as if holding his own life. Enrique then took a deep breath and completed, and there's one more thing. Helena and Raphael looked at him, startled. Enrique confirmed, your mother, and your brother, are coming here. They know you found out. The wind ceased. The world fell silent. Helena felt a shiver run down her spine. Raphael closed his eyes for an instant, gathering strength. When he opened them, there was something new there. Courage. Decision. Helena, he said, with firmness, it's now. I will no longer run from the truth. Nor let anyone decide my life for me. She smiled, emotional, her eyes shining. And as they prepared, the headlights of a car appeared, coming up the road. Slow. Coldly calculated. Like an omen. The headlights advanced slowly up the narrow ascent. The fine snow falling reflected in the light, creating a cold, almost menacing glow. Helena held Raphael's arm. Is it them? She whispered. Enrique nodded. It's your mother's car. Raphael stiffened. His heart pounded so hard it seemed to echo across the viewpoint. The car parked with calculated precision. The driver's door opened slowly. And Beatrice stepped out. Elegant. Impeccable. With the posture of someone who believes they control the world. Right behind her, Eduardo got out. His gaze, dark and tense, directly avoided Raphael's. The scene seemed straight out of a courtroom drama. The silent viewpoint. The wind held its breath. Three destinies about to collide. Beatrice walked first, firm steps on the wet asphalt. Raphael. she called in a harsh tone, almost defensive disguised as concern. Son, what are you doing here? You should be getting ready for the wedding. Enrique stepped forward, shielding Helena and Raphael with his body. Dona Beatriz, please. Let's not start with ironies. He knows everything. Eduardo swallowed hard. Beatriz shot him a cutting glance. Everything? She repeated, controlling her breathing. And what exactly do you think you've discovered? Raphael took a step forward. The messages. The audios. The fake photos. The sabotage of my wedding, and my life. Beatriz didn't falter. But her eyes narrowed. I did what any mother would do. I protected you. The first time, and now. Helena brought her hand to her mouth, shocked by the naturalness of the response. Raphael felt his blood boil. Protect? He shouted, his voice choked. Mother, you destroyed my first engagement. You invented that Clara was cheating on me. She suffered. I suffered. And now Helena. Beatriz raised her hand. Helena is not right for you. Helena stood motionless, as if she had been slapped invisibly. Eduardo looked away, unable to bear his mother's cruelty. Raphael took another step forward. Who are you to decide that? Who are you to choose who I love? Who enters or doesn't enter my life? Beatriz took a deep breath, losing her mask of coldness for an instant. I am your mother. And everything I do, is out of love. That's not love. Raphael exploded. It's control. It's obsession. A painful silence settled. Enrique placed his hand on Helena's shoulder. Beatriz then turned to Eduardo. You told, didn't you? She asked, with venom in her voice. Eduardo paled. Mother, I can't keep hiding this. Not from Raphael. Beatriz approached him with slow, surgical steps. You were always weak, Eduardo. Always. The phrase cut through the air. Eduardo lowered his face, humiliated. Raphael stepped forward, indignant. Don't talk to him like that. Beatriz spun her face sharply. So now you defend him? After everything he did? Raphael became serious. He made mistakes. Yes. But he made mistakes because he grew up believing you would never find him good enough. Because he lived in your shadow. Because you fueled competition and jealousy between us. Beatriz opened her mouth to respond, but Helena took center stage. She took a firm, courageous step. The wind blew her hair, creating an almost cinematic image. Dona Beatriz. She said, her voice soft, yet firm as steel. You may not like me. You may think I'm not good enough for you. You may think your son deserves someone better, richer, more suitable. Beatriz raised her chin. Helena continued, but none of those reasons, none of those rules, justify destroying someone's life. They don't justify manipulation. Lies. Humiliation. Her voice trembled, but she didn't back down. Raphael doesn't need a mother who chooses for him. He needs a mother who supports who he is. Raphael stood motionless, touched by the words. Beatriz took a deep breath, but kept her icy gaze. You talk as if you understand life, girl. But you don't. Helena took another step. Maybe I don't understand everything. But I understand one thing, love is not imposed. Love is offered. The wind seemed to applaud. Eduardo discreetly wiped away a stubborn tear. It was then that Beatriz, unable to control the unfolding disaster, pointed at Raphael. So you choose to stay with her? After everything I did for you? After everything I gave up to raise you? After all my sacrifices? Raphael took a deep breath. And found within himself something he had never found before, freedom. He answered without trembling, "Mother. I appreciate everything you've done. But I won't pay for it with my happiness. I choose Helena. And I choose to live my life, without fear." The sound of the declaration echoed across the viewpoint. Beatrice stopped. Clenched her teeth. And for the first time, she took a step back. Eduardo closed his eyes. Enrique sighed, relieved. Helena held Raphael's hand, emotional, her heart bursting in her chest. But the story still had one last twist. Beatrice, trembling, said in a low voice, "Then, you need to know something. Something I've hidden for many years. About the first engagement. About the accident. About Raphael's past." Raphael frowned. "What are you saying?" Beatrice swallowed hard. "I didn't do everything alone. And I didn't do it just out of fear. I did it because—" She took a deep breath as if preparing to open the darkest door of her own soul, "because there's a secret in our family that you don't know." Helena let go of Raphael's hand, startled. Enrique raised his eyebrows. Eduardo lowered his gaze. Raphael, already without strength for more revelations, murmured, "What secret?" Beatrice closed her eyes. And when she spoke, everything changed. Beatrice kept her eyes closed for a few long seconds, as if each word was an impossible weight to carry. When she finally spoke, her voice was low, trembling, laden with a past no one there imagined. Raphael's first fiancé's accident wasn't an accident. The air left the room. Helena brought her hand to her mouth, unable to believe what she had heard. Enrique stood motionless, like a statue. Eduardo, by the door, squeezed his eyes shut tightly, like someone who knew that truth would one day come out. Raphael. Raphael felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. "What do you mean, it wasn't an accident?" he said, almost voiceless. Beatrice opened her eyes, and in them was guilt. Years of guilt. Decades, perhaps. She, your fiancé, was pushed. Helena took a step back, horrified. "Pushed?" she whispered. Beatrice nodded with a trembling chin. "It was on the stairs, on the eve of the wedding. She was here at the house, talking to me. She asked to speak alone, said she loved you, Raphael, but wanted to postpone the wedding because she was afraid of not being good enough for our family." Raphael clenched his hands, trying to remember, trying to find some trace of this story in his erased past. Beatrice continued, and each word was like a blade, and then, she slipped. Fell. The fall was bad. And she didn't make it. Helena, distressed, tried to process it. "My God, but why hide this?" Beatrice took a deep breath. "Because no one believed it was an accident." Enrique narrowed his eyes. "So someone accused you?" Silence. A heavy silence. Dense. Almost solid. Until Eduardo looked up, pale. "I accused her," he said, in a low voice. Everyone turned to him. Raphael seemed to have taken another blow to the chest. Eduardo swallowed hard. "I was there. I heard screams. When I ran, Raphael's fiancé was already fallen. And my mother was at the top of the stairs." Helena closed her eyes. "So you thought that I would have pushed her," Beatrice completed, bitterly, "even without proof. Even without anyone seeing. Even without anything concrete." Raphael put his hands to his head. "But this is crazy, all this is." Beatrice interrupted him, almost pleading, "Son, I swear. I didn't touch her. She slipped. I tried to hold her. I swear on everything I hold sacred. But no one believed me. Not your father, not your brother, not anyone." Silence returned. A silence where only the sound of Raphael's rapid breathing could be heard. Beatrice continued, her voice faltering, and I saw you, destroyed. No memory of the accident. No strength to go on. And I understood that, if you fell in love again, if another fiancé entered this house, it could happen again. They could blame me again. They could hurt you again. She looked at Helena. Deep. Intense. Desperate. I was afraid of her joining our family and suffering the same fate. I was afraid, so afraid, that I did horrible things trying to push her away. But I never wanted to hurt anyone. Helena felt her skin tingle. Everything made sense. The disappearance. The messages. The audio. Raphael's flight. The absurd fear the family had. It was all about the accident. About the guilt. About the trauma. And then, Raphael approached his mother. Slowly. Devastated. Mom, why didn't you tell me anything? She raised her face, tears streaming uncontrollably. Because you didn't remember. And I didn't have the courage to reopen your trauma. I preferred to carry everything alone. Making mistakes. Making many mistakes. But loving you the whole time. Raphael closed his eyes. Long, deep. And when he opened them, Helena, he said, turning to her, his heart exposed, now that you know everything. The whole truth. The worst of my past. I need you to tell me. He swallowed hard. Do you still want to marry me? The entire room seemed to stop breathing. Helena felt her chest tremble. Her hands shook. Her voice wavered as she opened her mouth to answer. But before Helena spoke, a loud noise echoed at the door. The story wasn't over yet. Something, or someone, was about to enter. The knock on the door echoed through the house like thunder. Bang! 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 Everyone turned at the same time. Helena brought her hand to her chest, startled. Enrique took 2 steps forward, instinctively protecting his sister. Eduardo stood rigid, as if expecting the past to walk through the door. Raphael, still fragile from the revelation, remained by Helena's side, as if her body were his only safe point. Beatrice. Beatrice paled in a way none of them had ever seen. No, she whispered, it can't be, who is it? Raphael asked, tense. She didn't answer. Another knock. Stronger. Bang. 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 Enrique slowly approached the doorknob. Whoever it is, we'll deal with it together. But before he opened it, a feminine voice, trembling, hoarse, almost unrecognizable, echoed from the other side, please, open. I need to talk to you. Helena felt a shiver run down her spine. Do I know that voice? She murmured. Enrique opened the door carefully. And when the door opened, their world completely collapsed. Before them stood a woman. Soaked by the rain. Pale. Weak. With a scarf wrapped around her bald head. Her eyes deep, but alive. Too alive. Helena covered her mouth. Raphael took a step back, as if he had been hit in the chest. Because that woman shouldn't exist. My God, Eduardo whispered, this isn't possible. The woman slowly raised her face. And with a broken voice, she said, Raphael, it's me. He stood motionless. Paralyzed. Time froze. Enrique blinked several times, trying to process. Helena felt her legs give way. Eduardo leaned against the wall. And Beatrice? Beatrice fell to her knees, breathless. No, you're not, she trembled, you couldn't be alive. The woman took a deep breath, with visible difficulty. I should have died that day. But I didn't. I was taken unconscious. I was in a coma for months, then years in treatment. I lost everything, including my hair, my health. But I recovered my memory. And when I did, she started to cry. I found out Raphael was getting married again. Raphael finally managed to speak. One word. Low. Scared. Camila? The woman smiled with pain. Yes, Raphael. I am, your first fiancé. Helena felt such a sharp pang in her chest that she was afraid she would fall. Raphael put his hand to his head, trying to breathe. An impossible conflict lay before him. Between the past that returned from the dead and the present he finally had the courage to embrace. Camila continued, I tried to talk to you before. I sent audios, messages, but I was too weak, my voice faltered. I never wanted to disrupt your wedding. I just needed to see you. At least once, before my health worsened. Helena blinked, surprised. So you weren't the one who sent the fake messages? Camila shook her head. No. I sent a single audio, asking to talk. That's all. The rest. I don't know who did it. Beatrice, still on her knees, cried. Enrique exchanged a quick glance with Eduardo. Raphael was completely devastated. And then? Camila took a step forward, with effort. Raphael. I didn't come here to ask you for anything. Nor to claim anything. I just came to say. She looked at Helena. With a sadness so profound it seemed to touch the ground. That she is perfect for you. And that you need to be happy. With her. Not with me. Helena felt tears fall. Raphael too. And then? The woman he once loved. Whom everyone believed dead. Who brought the greatest tragedy of his life. Smiled sweetly. Live, Raphael. Love. Be happy. And let me go. She turned her back, as if accepting her own destiny. But before she took a second step, Raphael ran and grabbed her arm. Helena held her breath. Beatrice broke down in new tears. Camila slowly turned to him. And Raphael, with the most sincere voice he had ever had, said, Thank you, for coming back. Thank you for freeing me. And, goodbye. Camila smiled. A light smile. Of peace. Of farewell. And then, she left. Helena, crying, ran to Raphael. He hugged her tightly, that hug that says everything words cannot. Helena. I choose you. Today. Tomorrow. And every day. She smiled through tears. And the wedding? Ah, the wedding. Enrique clapped his hands. So what are we waiting for? We have a full church, and a couple who love each other. It's time to get married. Raphael laughed through tears. Helena sobbed with emotion. Beatrice, still destroyed by the past, smiled for the first time in years. And so, on Christmas Eve, after the greatest whirlwind of secrets, traumas, and reunions, Helena entered the church. And Raphael waited for her at the altar. Their kiss sealed not just a marriage, but a rebirth. And for those who watched until the end, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and hit the bell icon, because tomorrow there's another thrilling story, one of those that touches the heart even of the strongest. See you next time.